Yeah, the weather's been a little cooler than it has been the past few weeks. So
it just got cold. It was windy out tonight here.
Yeah, the wind is so dry and cold. Not a lot of fun when you're working outdoors.
We got a little bit of snow this afternoon.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Just got the first.
I think we're supposed to
use the snowblower.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
You got more than a few centimeters of snow on there, Jim?
Enough. It was worth doing.
Nice. Yeah. I can't feel like for the first 10 years we moved here, we have a 6-car double driveway. I was like, I just resisted getting a snowblower. But then every now and again, it'd be one big snowstorm and the end of the driveway would be packed after the plows come, and it's not worth it. So I bit the bullet.
Yeah, our driveway is 110 yards long. It's kind of non-negotiable.
That's almost snowblower mount on a skid steer size. Or a plow truck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if it really comes down, my farmer friend cruises by with one of those 8-wheeled gargantuan tractors and just sort of does one pass.
Nice. Those are good friends to have. I don't have any of those friends out here.
Yeah.
Looks like we got a dozen or so folks already peeping in, getting some hellos. Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
I can't see the usernames. I see them on Facebook, but not in the comment section here. And then when I open Facebook, I get feedback. So we'll see if I can make this happen. Oh, there's Heather. Hey, Heather, Tony, Norman. He's so excited about the new. You guys saw the new divisions?
You got yeah.
No, what's going on there?
New things going on.
We're aligning our production and open with PRS. So we're using the $1,500 cap for production. Yeah. Just to keep things a little simpler.
Yeah.
And we're working on trying to get PRS points recognized as well. What's that? Yeah, USD.
Is that USD? Is that 50 USD? Yeah.
USD MSRP. Yep.
It's keeping it all consistent.
That's like what, 7,000? That's like 7,500 Canadian, right?
Yeah. Pretty much. And it simplifies things. I mean, we bumped up the production to incorporate more rifles that are outside of the old limit, but now I think this one just makes so much more easier for everybody. So yeah. And then we added semi-auto division this year, which again,
we did do that.
Does also. Yeah. So we've got open production, semi-auto, air gun, and stealth. That stealth division is good for folks that just want to not really compete using the standard course of fire for mobility reasons, or they don't have enough time. Kind of just either training wheels
too that you want to coach and stuff too.
Yeah. So you can get them on target, and you can forget about the part times. The part times also decreased this year by 15 seconds, so it's a minute and it's 105 seconds now instead of 120. So that's consistent with PRS. So it's
it makes it easier when you go down south.
Yeah, I think so. But for outlaw, it's still regular 2 minutes. But all the divisions are aligned between ORPS and CRPS. So hopefully that simplifies things for everybody. Yeah, looking forward to getting it going. All right, I think it's 8:30 on my clock, even though the countdown hasn't finished. But let me end that, and then we'll launch the video, and then we'll get started. Stand by, guys. Let's do the summary one. Stand by. Hey, welcome to the Rimfire Nation Podcast, Season 3, Episode 5. We sit down with Jim and Chris, who took on the I'm going to say it, the Mammoth Challenge of prepping and getting ready and competing in the Mammoth Sniper Challenge. We get to sit down and pick their brains and hear what it's all about. But before we do that, let's take a look at what's new at Tesro. So Tesro, for those that haven't seen or aren't receiving their updates, the big news this week is the first batch of SK ammo is almost here. So I know pallets are inbound. I know Asmir's paid for it. He's got no money left because he's got to pay for pallets of ammo coming inbound. I think they've processed almost all of the back orders, so they are taking back orders for it. So if you have back ordered, check your email as they are sending updated invoices. And then, but again, he's not sure how much they're gonna have after that. He's also leaked the new series that we mentioned the last couple of podcasts. It's the Tesro Rimfire Precision Paper Series. So this is going to be run similar to how Outlaw is, but it's strictly a paper target. It's going to be 50 yard and 100 yard targets. It's going to be prone and bench. So it's actually going to be four stages for that event. It's going to be shot as one relay. So if you have 10 shooters or 15 shooters, they'll all shoot at the same time. The difference compared to the typical PRS, it's going to be prone. It's going to be off the bench. And you'll have 20 minutes for 20 shots. That includes your sighters. So 10 for sighters and 10 for score, I believe, is how we're doing it. That could change, but that'll be a kindler, gentler, more cerebral shooting experience, I think. I'm interested in trying that out as well. So so it's going to be a very laid back way to do it. We're just fine tuning the test targets. I've got some targets printed up and we're going to be shooting them in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. Tesro's got some handgun parts updates. CZ goodies are coming in, and Eman parts are on the way as well. I don't know if you know that, but Tesro is stocking a lot of CZ parts for both pistols and rifles. And I think they're also getting pistol barrels from IGB Barrels in Austria. And the other news is, I think we talked about it last week, is Tesro's got small bore rifle builds, and we've seen some pretty good results from some early builds that went out to some shooters. And they're getting some phenomenal results for SD and ES with some RWS ammo and CZ 457 parts, as well as the new Loophole Mark IV pre-order. I think we mentioned this last time. This is I don't want to use the word game changer, but I'm going to use game changer because now it brings the Loophole Mark V bits and pieces down to the Mark IV level, which is roughly just over $2,000, hovering around $2,000. So you get all the reticles and maybe not quite the high end glass, but it's in a 34 mil tube. And it's also with the parallax down to 25, which is perfect for the Outlaw and NRL 22 series. So look out for that. I know they are doing pre-orders for that as we speak. So check out the Tesro.ca website for all your shooting needs. And that's it from Tesro. Gentlemen, our main topic, Jim and Chris, welcome to the Rimfire Nation Podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us and kind of give us the lowdown on both the insanity of what you guys agreed to take on and kind of the wild competition that is the Mammoth Sniper Challenge. For those that don't know, can either one of you or both of you describe what the Mammoth Sniper Challenge is and how you guys got involved with prepping and jumping onto that?
I'll tell you a little bit about it, I guess. Yeah, it's a 3-day competition where you have to, you're self-sustained for 3 days, and it involves 10 shooting stages as well as 30 or more miles of rocking, carrying all your equipment, everything other than water. And
all your camping, all your sleeping gear and
all
food
your
prep
sleeping
gear,
food, ammo, gun. It's a handgun rifle combination for this competition, and it's all unknown. So we, as being first competitors, had no idea what to expect. Trying to scour YouTube for what videos and after action reports we could find to try and get an idea of what to expect. But Jim was the one that came up with the idea, so maybe he can start it off and how we got into this.
Well, it was, for me, it started, I turned 60 this year, and I needed to find a way to flip the bird to turning 60. So I went out and found something that would have been really difficult when I was 30. And Mammoth turned out to be it. I started shooting with rifles. I'd spent some time with handguns in the late 90s and early 2000s in a competition scenario, and in other tangential way, my wife went through an illness that meant that she couldn't compete in archery during COVID. And so I said, hey, you always love shooting rifles. Do you want to take up the rifle for a little bit until you can get back and you can pull a bow again? And then I got kind of re-addicted. And to tell you the truth, actually, the very first rifle shooting competition that I went into was thanks to both of you two guys, because it was a CRPS event, a Frozen Fingers thing that Chris put on and you put on, and it was in April, and man, my fingers were cold. But yeah, I did that, and I just totally got the bug and went crazy with that. And then when I found Mammoth, I have a long background in endurance sports. Anyways, we'll spare you that. I have a long background in endurance sports, and I went out looking for somebody else who wanted to be a teammate for Mammoth. And one of our friends, Jim Cumpson, said, hey, you should reach out to Chris. So I sent him a message that said, hey, are you the kind of crazy that thinks this is a good idea? And I got this message back that said, I'm exactly that kind of crazy.
Nice.
So that's where it all started for me anyways. Yeah.
I answered that question before I really knew what the Mammoth Challenge was all about, though. So,
so how much of it? So it really is a physical challenge, right? I mean, it's not just not like drive up and shoot. It's really like an expedition race, an endurance race with shooting thrown in for fun, right?
Yeah, the way to think of it is probably. Yeah, like it's a 3-day long military biathlon where you sleep out at night and carry everything.
Yeah, it seemed like the average pack weight's 55 to 60 pounds from what we found from other competitors. And you have a minimum 16-minute mile, which is a very fast walk. So we trained to sort of get on a bit of a trot, maybe running about a 14-minute mile. So we had some wiggle room in case you needed to tie your shoe or go for a leak or something like that. But
right.
So that's a lot of work, and you got to go off first thing in the morning and ruck for 5 miles with 60 pounds on your back. Some of the competitors started dropping off pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
And then we had some weather too. So overnight we got some rain, and that dropped a few more competitors who weren't quite prepared for it.
So what time of year and where is this normally held?
It was the first week of January in Augusta, Georgia, at Fort Eisenhower.
Okay.
And temperatures were in the single digit, like above zero. It was actually not too bad. It was sunny. And then the first night at about 2 o'clock in the morning, it started raining. We knew some weather was coming, and we got it. Made getting out of the tent. We tried sleeping in a little bit till a whopping 4:15, and we weren't trying to get out of the tent real quick. Ended up rushing pretty hard that morning, and a few of the team members or some of the other teams didn't have very good sleeping arrangements, got wet and dropped out of the competition over it. So
now, did you guys practice rucking in the rain?
I was out in a few rucks where it rained, yeah. And learning every time we do the preps, you learn a few things, because I'd ruck in the rain and then my phone would get wet and short out and I wouldn't get my ruck times. So I figured, I just went for an hour and got soaked and don't even know how well I did.
Good. So what's the timeline? So from the moment of, hey, do you want to do this crazy thing with me? How much prep time did you guys have from the start of that? Let's do this to I can't believe we're here.
Would have been in October,
Like
November.
Yeah, it was October the year before. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a year and a month or two.
Nice. Okay.
And,
did you feel that that was enough time or not enough time?
Yeah. I did a bit of a slow start because I didn't really take it seriously, and I thought one day, I'm going to go for a ruck after work. Did a quick mile and a half as a baseline, and totally underestimated what it was like, and threw too much weight in the pack for the first time ever. Went with my work boots, had shin splints for a few days afterwards, and then thought, okay, this is going to be hard. Barely made the time, so I had to start taking it seriously. Up until this time, I had I would either wear rubber boots, work boots, or Crocs, and neither one of those are going to work anymore in this sort of thing.
So you have to gear up for that?
Yeah.
Boots.
Proper footwear and break them in. That's pretty critical.
Now, Jim, did you have a rucking background as well, or is that?
I did a lot of distance backpacking, so month-long excursions with a backpack on, and a ton of that in the past. So, but I had a pretty good idea what I was getting into. And I think maybe right at the start, Chris might have thought that I was overstating the requirements a little bit. I don't know. What do you think, Chris? How did you feel about it when I was like, oh yeah, we got to go. This is how fast we got to go so that we can go slow in competition. I was like, rah, 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 rah.
Yeah. And I kept saying, no, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. And I resisted it for a while, but Jim started showing me the way.
And was he right? Right, Chris?
Yeah, from exercising and what to do and what to get our times down to. And then he started working at me for diet. It took a good 6 months before I'd entertain his diet plan. But in the end, it actually worked out really well. And he kept saying, a lot of people look at your pack and say, what can we shed weight in the pack from? And Jim's like, look at how much weight we can shed from our bodies so that we don't have to carry. Never mind the packs quite yet. And I don't know, it made sense.
So did you both lose weight?
I don't need to take weight off my pack. I need to take weight off my own fat ass. Yeah.
So you guys had a diet and an exercise program for Mammoth.
Yeah.
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 You must have ended up dropping.
It was very specific.
Okay.
For the last few months, I really started probably in October, got on a real strict diet, basically went on a keto diet to get fat adapted. Didn't eat very much during the day. We were living protein shakes for breakfast and lunch, and then a dinner with real food. Jim taught me what product labels were and how to read them.
now you're healthier man for it.
I was a sugar and carb addict, and that was a little bit of a work to kick that. But I started seeing results real quick, and I got into the best shape I've ever been in my life in pretty short order once I started actually listening and following a plan. When it got down to the crunch.
I mean, I gotta give huge credit to Chris because I had a decent idea what I was getting into. Chris got into this, and when he realized how deep the deep end was, man, he put in the work. I mean, Chris changed everything, and the how much work, how much effort, how much determination he put into it. I'd get these early days I'd get his ruck speed back and I did this and this, that much I was curious how fast I just kept getting faster and faster and faster. And when we actually got to competition, the goal of the really hard training was so that when we got to the rucks, we could enjoy it. And I don't know, Chris, would you say it's valid? I think I always had an extra 20% left. I was never hitting the wall. I never went into the red. We just kept coasting along, and we were never lower than third in the rucks, and we won final one for our squad, which is okay for a couple of old guys with a bunch of young bucks in the military rucking with us. So, yeah.
Well, that's a good question.
But,
what's the percentage breakdown of? What is the breakdown civilian to military? Is it 50-50 or is it more military than civilian doing the challenge?
It seemed like there was a lot of maybe not so much active military, but a lot of veterans there.
Former. Yeah.
Yeah, former.
Yeah, there were vets, there was active. Yeah.
People used to suffering.
We had a bit of downtime for a fog delay, and we got a real good chance to meet everybody where it wasn't so fast paced. Had a couple hours of heavy fog. And, we get to meet other people from different states and hear their stories and their backgrounds. It was a lot of fun. We definitely made the most of a rainy morning and a fog delay. We missed a couple stages at the end because of it, but the match director, extremely well organized match director, and he had a lot of work to do to figure out how he was going to make this work with such a delay and keep everything equal, because all the different, I don't know how many different squads there were, but everybody's going in a different direction in the morning. You have to do roll call, and then they tell you where you're going. So they'll say, they'll take attendance, and then, okay, you're going to range C. It's 3.9 miles that way. Your time is X amount. And then you go to the start line, they blow a whistle, and you go. There's always chase vehicles, and we got a squad mom, and it's extremely well organized.
Nice. So it's a shotgun start. Everyone kind of just headed off in different directions, and the next day you do the ones you missed.
Yeah. So, some of the ranges were further than others, so they had to add a couple redundant loops to our ruck routes just to make up the miles.
That's frustrating. We were just here.
Oh yeah, the first day coming back, we were a little bit late getting out, so we were finishing our ruck in the dark. And you ruck past, and one of the guys that's been there before would be like, "Oh, we're camping over there," and then we'd have to ruck for say another half a mile to get to the finish line to turn around and say, "Oh yeah, your camp's half mile that way." Like, awesome. Typical military stuff. Run over there. Yeah. Okay, now come back.
At least you had enough spare fuel in the gas tank to get there. You weren't wiped out, which is the benefit of kind of the training program you guys put together.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get to bed a little earlier, because that was the night the weather was coming in, and we had to go to a campsite area we've never been to before in the dark, set up all of our equipment in the dark.
Get all the pine cones out from under the tent so we didn't perforate everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was in a field of massive big pine trees, big needles and cones everywhere. Trying to find.
Did you guys have separate tents, or did you guys share the load of a tent?
Yeah, we used one. You got to pack efficiently. We found that was the best way to do it. You see all kinds of people from anywhere, from individual tents to the bivvy bags or hammocks, sort of, sleeping under tarps and ponchos.
It's only a couple of days, right?
Yeah, it didn't work out.
Some of those are good choices, and some are bad. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a team in our group that they were saying, "Oh, we're going to pack light, freeze at night," and they slept under a poncho, and it pooled up some water, and they ended up getting drenched, and they didn't make the morning ruck.
Brutal.
So yeah, that'd be rotten. And you get soaked overnight, no sleep, and then you meet up at 5:30 a.m. and ruck for 4.2 miles that way in the rain. And it's not light out until you get there.
Brutal.
It was it tests your limits.
Hey, we had a question. Were there any women in the competition?
Yeah, actually, in our group there was a 2-woman team. They did quite well. They were into go ruck competitions, so they were familiar with the rucking portion of it. And took up shooting, and they were second year. They did last year as well.
They also had a husband and wife combo,
and they finished top 10 too. They did quite well.
Yeah,
they came 8th. Yeah.
That's the communication skills at work there.
Maybe they weren't hiking.
Yeah, so there's definitely women in the competition. Like there were more women than I would have thought going into it. You think it's going to be just a giant deep end of the testosterone pool kind of a thing, and there were a number of military women that were there, and just straight up going hard. They did a great job.
Nice. So this is a 10 stage match, right? And is
Yeah.
it always pistol and rifle each stage, or sometimes it's only rifle?
Yeah, it depends on the stage. Probably most of them had a pistol portion to it.
Okay.
The pistol was fun. It wasn't overly hard, I wouldn't say, but it was a lot of fun blasting
Yeah.
an array of pistol targets. And
yeah, they put some targets out there. There were a few that were at 75, 80 yards for what we consider an IPSC torso target, which is that's out there for a pistol shot, especially if you're used to shooting things that are in at these 7, 10, 15, 20 yard kind of a mark. But
yeah,
if you're Canadian, you want to go down there, spend some time with a pistol before you go, because there's a lot of points that are pistol points. A lot.
Oh yeah. Okay. Now, do you guys have a lot of pistol shooting background? No,
not at all. But Jim's had a bunch. But I don't know. We practiced up quite a bit. We had to go down to the U.S. and got into some of those ranges down in there and played with pistols ahead of time. Brought a case of ammo before we went.
Okay.
I don't know. We just we did quite well. The long range pistol, like Jim was saying, they had a 2/3 IPSC at 95 yards and a 2/3 IPSC at 45 yards for the long range.
Oh, is it only 2/3? There you go.
Yeah. That's what my notes said. And then the rifle portion, they had
pounded it in there pretty good.
Yeah, that wasn't as hard as we thought, because we had a feeling there was going to be a stupid long range or something. So we practiced some 100-yard shooting to see what it take. But then the rifle portion was like 1,100 yards for that one. Some of it was difficult. Like I think maybe, I don't know what the top shooter would have got for amount of scoreable points. Because they would say some stages would be 75 points available, and we'd walk off with like maybe 20 of them and think, oh, we did terrible on that one. But then, that's kind of the way it goes.
Well, and then the guy scoring goes, "Don't worry, that's a really good score." So it's, and that kind of speaks to Mammoth is very different from a target placement point of view. If you're shooting or CRPS, and when you shoot those, what the distances are, what the targets look like, and the targets aren't hiding. This is a sniper match, and so when they place these targets, they're assuming that what you're shooting at doesn't want to get shot. So things are behind trees, things are poking out of the grass, things are, they say to you, okay, well, shoot a spade shaped target and then shoot a diamond shaped target, and the two of you have to shoot the two different targets, and then they bury them halfway in the grass, so all you see is something on the top doing this, and so
that's wild.
I would and if you see a target that is plain and it's just sitting right there and it's big as if you see that target, you should probably think really seriously about whether you want to shoot that thing or not, because in the scenario that they're laying out, that's probably one of your own guys' backs, right? What they're assuming what you're shooting at doesn't want to get hit, and anything you can see is probably on the same team as you, and so you shouldn't shoot them. So
that's wild.
Yeah, basically.
So you guys.
They put some trick targets out there that aren't in play, cause you to waste time on if you aren't paying close enough attention to your stage briefings, where, if they say there'll be an IPSC target on a blue post, they might put an IPSC target on a red post or something, or a blue IPSC target, just to kind of trick you, or something straight out. So when you look, oh, look at that, there's one of our targets, and you start wasting time on it, making hits on it, and starting to argue with the range RO, hey, I'm hitting that. Why aren't you scoring hit? And they're not answering you, right? Jim says, just move on. It's, that's
so do you guys have
find out afterwards.
Do you guys have a set round count per
usually
stage?
Yeah, usually you do.
So you
They
can
had,
catch up.
yeah, they'll say the rounds counts were fairly high usually, 12 or 18 or 16 rounds sort of thing.
Okay.
Or unlimited.
They had unlimited on a mover stage. It was our second stage, and we I'd say we kind of didn't do very good on our first stage. Had some jitters and everything, and just bombed the first one. And I'm thinking, oh man, I was expecting to shoot off some of this ammo we're carrying around. So the mover stage being unlimited, I said, well, now's our chance. And I think I put 40 rounds downrange on that one.
It's on 41 rounds. You
Yeah,
haven't
they
seen
were,
anybody run a bolt gun that fast.
Oh yeah, we did pretty good on that actually. Because these
Oh, that's
movers,
good.
you'd hit them. You had to hit them 3 times
Okay.
before they would go down and score a point. So
Okay.
you'd have to team up on them because they were moving and they were erratic
Okay.
too. They start and stop and change direction, and then when you hit them, they'll slow down for a second, or they'll start to shutter, and then when you hit them 3 times, they'll go down. Then you start engaging another one, but you also have to make 3 hits on it before you score a point.
That's
and
then the one you
then
put down, and then the one you put down pops back up again. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
And they're robotic, so they'll program them and they'll move randomly. They'll go back and forth, and all of a sudden they'll start coming in towards you, and then away, and then diagonal, and then they're all over the place.
Good gracious.
So it's not like the movers that we're used to that are very conveniently giving you one of these, right?
Man, I'd love to spend a day just on that stage, and
they're going deep into the field.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Now the stage briefings you got.
Marathon Targets. They were really cool.
Okay. Nice. So the briefings that were given to you, is that like a printed briefing, or did the RO provide the briefing for each stage?
The RO would read the brief. So they'll read it, and it's pretty thorough. And then he'll read it a second time, and then you get 5 minutes to answer like Q&A. Okay. So you're jotting down notes real quick, the first reading, and then you're trying to verify your notes on the second reading, and then anything that you want to know, you set a timer, 5 minutes, and then everything's blind. So you're in a staging area. They call you up one at a time. And even that's pretty physical, because what do they say? Call you up and you're 50 or 80 yards from the firing line, and they're like, go. Okay. So, first thing you're doing is running quite a distance, all your gear. So, everything in hand.
Yeah.
You got everything on you for the whole weekend.
Now, did you guys know you had to develop a shooter spotter communication program, or that just happened naturally that you guys just clicked?
We tried to anticipate.
We practiced that quite a bit.
We tried to develop some dialogue, like breaking down. We spent a lot of time just in Jim's backyard staring at the field, and we break it down into quadrants, like A, B, C, D. It'd be like quadrant A near, halfway down sort of thing. He'd be like, with binoculars, okay, what do you see there? Oh, I see a mailbox. Yeah, that's your target, right? Just doing stuff like that, trying to walk each other on. And we got pretty good at it, but we never really used it. In the heat of the moment, when the timer goes off, all your best laid plans go out the window.
Yeah. Over there, farther out to the right.
Yeah, we had
out the window.
We got the walkers with a microphone piece on the side.
Oh, nice.
So we're like, we got 2-way radios built into our headphones. They call us like NASCAR a lot of the times. And I don't think we use them either. It'd be a good bet.
But there had been stages in previous iterations where those would have been absolutely key. That's why we were getting those, because we'd heard, okay, well, they have ones where you have to talk over each other and all these different things. And it's like, okay, that sounds like a technology solution. So when we got a way to communicate with each other, and I would keep taking that like it was worth the wait. And I can imagine scenarios where, because when we go again, they change it every year. Right. And so they can throw anything at you, and separating you by enough distance and throwing a bunch of noise into the equation is definitely going to make it, they'll put you, it's like, okay, one guy go 50 yards that way and then spot for this dude over here, and it's like, you need to be able to talk to each other.
Yeah,
But
that's
somebody
wild.
was asking us if we'd be willing to share our diet plan and gear choices. So yeah, absolutely. What are the questions? Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
so our
anytime.
objective from a go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just saying it. Anytime anyone wanted to just get more details on that, just private message or something. If we can't get to too much of it tonight, I'm willing to share our plan.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, did you guys have
Yeah.
to change?
I can give
So
you.
you
We
guys
can
had
do a pricing.
did you guys have to change
Sorry.
the gear that you're using optically, like binos, rangefinders?
That was a journey as well, because yeah, we learned a
Oh
lot.
yeah.
So first thing we did is Jim says, I'm going to get one of these
Expensive
HNT
mistakes.
26. Yeah, that's the stock to get. And then I had a
Carbon.
voucher for IBI. So I says, grab a carbon fiber barrel. And he's secondary shooter, has to use 308 or 223. So he gets a carbon fiber 308 barrel to put in an HNT 26. And then found out how he, that's hard to hold on to when you start touching it off. Like, we're like, oh, you're going to be able to see your shots real nice with a 308. No.
No.
What is that, like an 8
It's like-
pound 308? It's not that easy to shoot.
Yeah.
Expensive. Yeah. With the scope on it, it was 10.5 pounds. And that was an expensive mistake. So those of you that are thinking of doing this out there, you're not shooting 308. You're shooting 223. And that was, when I went down to MKM in the States, my wife and I are members down there, and I went down to MKM and I was practicing with the 308 in one of the PRS matches, and there were other guys that had done Mammoth there, thank goodness, and they looked at the gun and they were like, it's a really nice rifle, you're not taking it to Mammoth. And so I started asking the questions, and because you light this thing off and you are not going to spot your misses with a 10-pound 308, because that thing, it doesn't matter how good you are at recoil management, you're not going to spot your misses. And so it became rapidly apparent that I needed to listen to what the people who had done it before told me. And I had to go out and very quickly, given how long it takes to get a barrel, how long it takes to do load development, so when I say quickly, I mean over the course of a couple of months. But thank goodness that Ken Thiessen at Accuracy Development Solutions, Ken stepped up, found me a barrel. Mike Tradinic at Elwood Epps, who has been just this source of unending patience and willingness to listen to my crud about questions and how to do things and reloading, and it just went on and on to the point that people in Mike's household, the phone rings, and when they pick it up, I hear, it's Mike's boyfriend. So it's unending calls to Mike. So lots, thank you very much to Ken and to Mike and Elwood Epps, and just helping me get through all that, and the guys at Pristine Actions, who, I needed an action right now. And you guys know, if you're going looking for one of these things, it's, it's like, oh, our current wait time is 12 months, and Pristine had one, and it worked out perfectly. And Ken, like, he had a long lineup of work to do, and he understand what I was wanting to do. And he put in extra hours and got the rifle built for me. And then the next problem became the optics, because for weight, I was running a Viper PST Gen 2, and it became rapidly apparent that although it's an awesome scope, it was not going to give me the level of detail I needed out, at 900 yards to be able to see what was going on, to find to find the targets and get on them. So that ended up getting replaced with a British XTR Pro, which absolutely was the ticket for that particular event, because it's got glass that's probably 95% of what a Razor is. but it weighed literally 1 ounce more than the Viper did, and it could handle the kicking. Like I rucked with that thing in my pack and just bounced the crap out of it for God knows how many miles before it ever went to competition. And it just kept working. And having that quick change dial on it so that you can go on and mark your mark your yards and stuff on there. And because we also the Kestrel out the window. Your ballistic data calculator out the window. That stuff's not coming into play.
Yeah, we were doing it quick with arm boards. You're just grabbing ranges and arm boards. It was faster. We had the Fury with our ballistic solvers programmed in it, but when the time goes off and you're working real fast, it was just quicker. Grab some range because it takes like 3 seconds to switch over to the solution.
Yeah.
Just grab some range, or he can get mine. We didn't have to switch profiles. Hey, see that target over there? Give me some dope. Getting my gun up. He'd call out the range. I'd look at the arm board. Done. Right. It just seemed to be simple. Right. That was the way.
So you're still using. So you're using a 10 power. So you're using it as your spotter, the Furies.
Yeah. Searching, spotting. It's too quick. You couldn't get a spotting scope set up in time. I don't think it'd be useful.
Okay.
And you sure as heck don't want to carry it. You don't want to carry it.
Yeah.
Not a spotting scope.
I'd rather have a little. No, I'd rather have a little more power in some, but I'd like to have a little cleaner glass. But the Furies with the rangefinder and the ballistic solver and everything all built in seemed like the right move.
Yeah.
In hindsight, a binocular rangefinder combo is pretty critical. But the solver, maybe not so much. I'd rather go for some really clean glass and use an arm board.
And you guys both had binos?
Yeah.
We both had Furies, which for me turned out to be problematic, highly problematic. Not because they're not good. They're a great piece of gear. The ballistic solver in it is awesome, and for PRS stuff, man, that's, it's just a go-to kind of a tool for checking your data and doing all the things that you need to do. And, it's a great tool, but I wear glasses, and because of the amount of handgun shooting that you're doing, you're going to be wearing glasses. And what I was doing in other competitions where I had relatively speaking, freaking days to work everything out. Here's your matchbook and here's where everything is, versus go out there and shoot these right now. So finding them and ranging them becomes critical. And because I had to keep my glasses on, it now meant that the Furies, and this isn't a problem with the Furies, it's a problem with my eyes, but the eye relief in the Furies is 15 millimeters. And when I had shooting glasses on, I now had access to half of the sight picture in the binos, because I used to take my glasses off, use the Furies, put my glasses back on, and start shooting. There you can't. You have to keep your glasses on, or you just don't have time to mess around trying to stop them back inside your Hearing Pro and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So also at this distance, they gave up quite a bit in optical resolution that I needed, because although your binos will correct for problems with eyesight, what they won't correct for is astigmatism. And I cured that problem when we got back and went to I sat down, did a ton of research, and found out that the 2 generations old Leica Geovid HB3000, which has an insanely fast rangefinder, but a couple generations old in the data ballistic stuff, like the Fury's way better at that, but at just finding and ranging, those things are awesome. So that's going to be what goes next time. And I can see, because they've got 20 mils of eye relief. Now I've got the whole picture, and the glasses just ridiculous.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, what stock or chassis did you end up putting your pristine action in?
We both use
126.
the HNT 26.
Oh, the HNT. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, HNT. Sorry.
Yeah, so you kept the HNT. Okay, with the
Yeah,
223.
Kyle loaned me his, and
Okay,
I'm not much of a chassis fan, but warmed up to it. It worked out well. It was nice and light, lighter than any of my options.
Was anyone else running HNTs out there?
A lot of people were. Yeah, it was a very
that
popular choice.
That was like the go-to.
It's ideal. It folds, so it fits in the pack easier with the folder. I put mine in. We both had, the top stuff packs. So I just put it right in there with the barrel sticking up. Jim had his strapped to the side because he had a tripod. We only brought one tripod for our team. So he could offset the weight of his rifle with the tripod.
Right.
I put mine right in the middle, straight up my back.
Okay. Nice. What action were you shooting, Chris?
I used Jessica's gun, her Defiance with the 6XC carbon fiber barrel. Yeah, it worked nice.
Oh, you guys weren't shooting the same caliber?
I was the primary shooter, so I could use any caliber. And secondary shooter is limited to either 308 or 223.
Gotcha. Okay, so you could not use the same if you were running a 6mm or something.
The secondary shooter can't.
Yeah.
Secondary shooter has to use a military caliber.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the 6XC with 105s going about 30, 50 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Worked out nice.
Nice. That's awesome. And what optics were you running on that, Chris?
I used the Minox LR because I like really low rings, and the HNT 26 has a bit of a night bridge kind of thing, enclosed front forend.
Okay.
And I got my scope sitting, actually. The objective is actually below the enclosed forend by a little bit. Yeah, it's not much clearance on the barrel, but it's nice and tight, easy to get in and out of the ruck.
Yeah.
And the Minox was a very short scope. It was a lot shorter than my USO. So that was the move for that. Nice.
Good. No equipment issues for either of you?
No, Jim had a little hiccup with feeding issue, but that happens. He's corrected it. Him and Ken sort of looked at it and corrected that issue.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken.
Other than that, the equipment was flawless. We other than Jim not getting his glasses figured out beforehand, we didn't have any other hiccups for the whole time, I wouldn't say.
Nice. Yeah. And then the food prep and sleeping was okay?
Yeah, like I said, with our meals, we stayed on the shakes. So for breakfast and lunch, I think I brought 3 vac seals with some protein powder in it.
Okay.
And then Jim found some sort of what is that? Like a complex starch fuel mixture that you put in with your water, and that gives you a boost.
Yeah, it's called UCAN, and there are. So Chris mentioned it earlier on as far as fat adapting, and if you're going to do any kind of a serious endurance event over the last, I'm going to call it 5 to 8 years, you're going to see anybody who's at the top end of endurance sports, they're going to be fat adapting. And the reason for that is that you're going to be burning calories at a rate that you cannot process them if you're trying to put them into your mouth, right? Your body simply can't. If you're going to crank through 5,000 calories in a day over top of your basal metabolic rate, your body cannot physically, doesn't matter how much you put in your mouth, it's not going to make it into your muscles in the speed that it needs to make it for the uptake. So you need to teach your body to consume its own energy. So your fat, and no matter how lean you get, like if somebody goes, I've only got 8% body fat. Well, you've got 8% body fat visceral, but once you go inside, there is so much in there cushioning your organs, it's ridiculous. So that is the source that you need to teach your body to attack for energy. So we spent a bunch of time, both of us, fat adapting, which means taking, like, ruthlessly removing carbohydrates from our diet, which took us off the insulin ride. Now, carbohydrates in themselves are not bad. So before anybody freaks out, oh my God, I stopped drinking, carbohydrates are a requirement for life, but they're not a sole requirement. And in the event that we were doing, you need to burn your own body fat for energy. So what we did is we were using a vegan protein powder mixed with UCAN. Now, UCAN is they call it a super starch, and you can go in there, and people that like to, argue the numbers on this stuff will be able to go back and forth all day arguing on what works and what doesn't. But what the basis of UCAN is that it has a very low insulin spike, and you're going to get about 200 to 300 calories that are going to not do the normal lap through your system that carbohydrates do. So that's what we were fueling on during the day. It also had the upside of meaning that we didn't have to cook it. So now the amount of gas we have to carry is lower. The amount of food we have to carry is lower. The water is the only thing we don't have to carry, and that's omnipresent all over the place. So what we were fueling on during the day was that stuff, along with a bunch of electrolytes. And then we'd cook a really good freeze-dried meal at night. And so that kept all that food, it kept it really uncomplicated. And I was never wanting for fuel. You, Chris?
That cheesy chicken broccoli sure was good at night.
Everyone's got their favorite.
Yeah, the breakfast skillet, not so much. We didn't read the instructions properly. It was more of a breakfast skillet soup. But when you only bring so much food and but when you count on the calories and you're getting ready, okay, we got to eat this crap, then go to bed. You're drinking breakfast skillet soup because you need it. You can't just throw it away and get a new one. So
you're pounding that down regardless. Now, what was the hardest part of the process for, I don't know if Jim and Chris have different ones, but certainly fitness is in there. Did you have to practice shooting at all? I mean, was that a non-issue, a non-worry for you guys, other than getting equipment together or changing it midstream? Well, what was the thing that I guess you worked on the most?
Chris is years ahead of me in rifle skills. And that was what I still need to catch up on. I'm okay with a pistol. Chris is literally years ahead of me in dealing with a rifle, and his ability to build a position intuitively, get onto target, and shoot very quickly. What I brought to it was, the ability to put a pack on my back and run like hell. I learned a ton from Chris from a shooting point of view, and that was what I really needed and still need to practice. And I have, now that we've done it, I have a whole new program of how I'm going to go to PRS events and what I'm going to go to PRS events and shoot them like it's Mammoth, just for the practice, to learn to get up to the speed that I need to get to. Chris, what are your thoughts on that?
We made a good team because we were the opposites, and he motivated me and taught me, as you can see, drink this and give me a 10-minute explanation as to why. It's like, all right, I'll just drink it. It works. Like I said with him, he would send me all these reports, like he'd send me pictures of his watch. Oh, I just rocked 10 miles this morning. Why the hell would you rock 10 miles when the longest rock might be 6 or 7? Just to see what would happen. Motivate me to do that sort of thing and get my speeds up. And I'd tell Jim, I really hate doing cardio. So Jim would be even still calling me up. You love cardio, don't you? Like, just keep telling yourself, I love cardio, and keep doing it. But, even with that, get on the treadmill and start running. And I wasn't bringing my pack in and doing it on the treadmill. I think Jim probably was, but I
look like a jackass in the gym. I've got the full rig. I've got like 65 pounds on. My chest rig is there. There's ammo mag holders all over it. People are like, is this
Hardcore.
jackass? And I'm on the treadmill for an hour with it up, holding like 4 to 10%, and just like
Yeah, and I started out where I'd get on the treadmill for 10 minutes and feel like I was going to die. But now, I could go run like one of those 5K races where I never really had any interest to do that before, or I don't think I was capable of doing that before.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a motivator too, because Jim was saying, "Oh, I'm turning 60. I want to do this." And it's like, oh, come to think of it, I'm turning 40. Maybe this could be my excuse. We had a little midlife crisis sort of event going on.
It's a good one. Now, did you guys do any training together? Like, did you guys get together regularly, or you just kind of shared notes about as close as you guys got?
We live almost 3 hours apart, so that wasn't as easy to do.
Yeah.
So
now, are you guys going? You guys going back to Mammoth?
I think so.
Oh yeah,
I think it's the bug has bitten. It's
not under the ground. I'm going back.
There you go.
It's
now. So the event was in January, right?
Yeah.
So it's still recent. Was there a recovery time from that?
Yeah,
did your body
I guess
get beat up, or?
I was hobbling for a couple days afterwards. I found out I need to do a little bit more work with my legs leading into it. I had to get some knee surgery done, and I think that maybe still is giving me a little bit of grief we got to look at and strengthen my legs a bit better. Because, I was probably 2 or 3 days I was walking with a bit of a hobble after doing that effort. But all in all, we didn't get any blisters. I didn't. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like we didn't, I think our program with foot care was really good. By the way, people, wear liner socks. Anyways, your partner needs to spend a little bit more time putting you on the table, give you some help. The problem is, like, with you 3 hours away, I got we got to get that stuff loosened up for you so that you're not, Chris was a little bit sore on one of his knees. He just kept hammering through it. He just put his head down and kept going. Yeah. We'll
go that far to fail.
Figured out. What's that?
The other I said we didn't go that far to fail. It was still working. No. So Mammoth has gotten so popular, they've done a Mammoth 2, which will be coming up in the next month or so in Arkansas at Fort Chaffee. Yeah. Okay. That'd be fun. Jim said right away, we're already in shape and we got all our equipment together. We should probably do Mammoth 2.
Mammoth 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
Maybe next.
If you've peaked.
It was a pretty good point.
Oh, there's a question. What was the longest ruck you guys did? I don't know if that's during training or at the match.
Oh, yeah. The match was just around 5 miles. Because at the end, they normally do a killer one at the end, which is around 7 or 7.5 kind of thing. But because of the fog delay, they had to cut off a couple stages and reroute a couple rucks to make sure everybody was equal. And the last one where I guess they put in a big, huge hill, and Jim was all upset that we didn't get to do it. It didn't hurt my feelings at the time, but now, now that I've forgotten about the pain and everything, I think, well, I kind of do wish we had given that a go.
Yeah.
Jim's got a loop. Jim's got a
We'll get
training
next year.
loop by his place, the killer loop. So he brings me out and says, "Oh, we got to do this loop." And it's got some serious elevation change. It's about around 6 miles. And thought, if we can do that, that's probably going to be better than anything they're going to throw at us. And I don't know. We ended up doing a 13-minute pace or something on a.
We're below that, dude. We PB'd that thing. We did 12:36 on some serious incline.
Yeah, something like that. So that makes your confidence go up pretty good, knowing that
sure.
There's still some gas left in the tank. We still did another.
That's awesome.
Still did another 4 miles throughout the day. That day, we were trying to simulate a match weekend, trying to do 10 miles worth of rucking for 3 days in a row. But
nice.
Yeah, the longest ruck I was doing for training in the flats was 10 miles. And that was just, go out with the dogs, throw 65 on my back and go 10 miles and keep and then try to keep the pace to around 13 and a half. But next year we're going to go back and I want to go back faster. I want to go back. Not that I'm going to, necessarily win the rucks, but I want the option.
Yeah. And know that you're ready for whatever comes your way. That's the big thing, is having that extra headroom, more gas in the tank. So there's less huffing and puffing, and you can just focus on shooting and not stress about the rucks, which is a huge
that's what makes
weight
it
off
fun.
your shoulders.
Like if you crush the rucks, this is actually fun, right?
Yeah.
If you can't crush the rucks, it's just a world of pain.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a team event, and unless both teammates cross the finish, like, you don't complete your ruck until both teammates cross the line. And some teams split up, and you got to wonder, it's good to have a few minutes of buffer, because if one of us starts to get a cramp or a blister or whatever, and it's like, man, I'm having a hard time going on. It's the teammate's job to say, okay, well, give me your ammo, give me your shooting bag, give me some weight, and redistribute that so you can keep going.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Don't separate from your teammate.
That was another question. Was there any climbing or bushwhacking involved, or was it mostly flat gravel roads?
Well, not so much flat, and some of them were paved roads. Now, one of the rules is you aren't allowed to ruck on any paved surfaces unless you're going around another competitor.
Okay.
They don't want you going down the road.
Right.
And that's a base rule.
Yeah, that's a base rule.
Okay.
They got some rules. You got to have a high vis, PT belt or something. Yeah, you got to have that on, and no rucking on the road. I guess it's pretty straightforward.
There's another question. Were you jogging with 65, or can you shuffle that fast?
Yeah, we call it a trot. I don't know. It's like you're motioning like a jog. It seems easier than a really fast walk with a long stride. It actually seems a little bit harder than a really slow trot. Just get your body in a rhythm.
Yeah. There's a method, like there's an actual technique to doing it, because what you're trying to do is not have all of that weight from just incessantly pounding on your spinal column. And so what you're trying to do is run with your hips staying flat as you move.
Okay.
So your cadence goes way up, your stride shortens, and like it now, I guess the other day I went out and did, I threw the pack on and just sort of started seeing if I could up my speed, because I want to be able to hold 10 and a half. This time around, we were shooting for 12 and a half last time, and I'm gonna go for 10 and a half on the flats. But it's not a jog. In a jog, your hips are doing this, right? Like it's a bound, kind of a bounding motion. What we're doing is trying to keep everything flat. and just up the cadence. And so you have to drop down into your stride a bit, like you physically drop your hips down into the stride, lengthen it out, and then start pulling hard with your glutes and hamstrings. And then you can actually get a pretty decent pace going doing that, but you're not jogging.
Yeah, that's the only real way to learn how to do this is you got to put on a ruck and start figuring it out. Like I thought, oh, you can go to the gym. I was saying to Jim, I can go on and do the stair climber. That's going to strengthen my legs. Well, it's not the same as rucking. You got to get out and ruck. Yeah. And you can do it anywhere.
Literally.
I had the ruck in the back of my truck all the time. I'd drop the kids off at a sports thing or something and have to kill an hour and a half, ruck through the park or whatever. Yeah.
It's crazy how you can change your life to fit a goal.
Yeah.
And again, if you don't suffer now, you're going to suffer infinitely more the weekend of that event. That's a thing that a lot of people don't realize. And it's sometimes the difference between finishing and not finishing. The guys who tapped out just weren't ready.
It's a 100-person event, 100 teams. They register at first, but then, at the last minute, always lose a couple. So 87 teams started off on Friday morning at like 6 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. Friday morning. Right. And by Sunday afternoon, there was 52 teams left.
Oh, almost half.
30% or something like that. Yeah, they lost.
Brutal.
Lost quite a bit for either getting cold at night or not sleeping or not making the rocks or for whatever reason.
It's amazing.
They have medical staff there. They had one guy on the drip there. I guess he needed some hydration. You have medics there in case someone has heart problems. You hear about that. So they're well staffed, but pushes the limits for some people.
Yeah, for sure. It's designed to, right?
Yeah.
Well, our original goal was just to finish. I got to tell you, I have never been so excited to place so low. Like we came 16th, and
nice. That's awesome.
Was over the moon. You'd think we won it, with how excited I was about that. Like both of us were jumping around like crazy people. Yeah. It's
so did it turn out to be harder or easier than, because you guys prepped for it, you guys trained for it. So I mean, obviously the training paid off because you guys did so well. But at the end of it, did you find it harder than you thought, or easier, or exactly what you thought it was going to be from the suffering and challenge?
I kind of
perspectives.
It's more or less what I expected. I didn't think we'd get through the rucks as easily as we did. One nice thing is I did a lot of my training on my own. And I said to Jim, it's like so much nicer going for an hour ruck when you got someone to talk to.
Yeah.
So that part was easy. The shooting was difficult. They were small targets and they were far distance. The pistol portion was a good way to get easy points.
Yeah.
We definitely learned a lot of things about getting some rifle skills and building positions. There's a lot of, the match director is very tricky. He's sneaky on some things. And we found out that if you put you on a stage and it'll say, for example, there's two crates out there. You have to shoot from over top of the crates. You can use the crates if you want. And you wonder, wait a minute, why is he saying that? Because, well, it's such a perfect position, but when you take the time to get set up on them, and then you can't see anything, they're too low, right? They do things like that. Or the one target that you see right away isn't a target that's in play. What's that doing there? Or you focus on that, and there's some easier ones just tucked into the trees off to the sides of it.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of it was just notice the shooting positions that they want to lead you to believe would be the best choice probably aren't the best choice.
Right. But you never know. Unless you always go with that that fear, uncertainty, and doubt all the time, and just reevaluate because after a while you get paranoid, right? And then you start second guessing, and that eats up time. And I don't know. I guess experience teaches you. Like once you know
It's
that
all part of
director,
the game when you're doing blind stages. Yeah.
yeah,
And
that's
I
wild.
really enjoyed it. Like the problem solving was ridiculous. It was cool, but I understand it a lot better now than,
There you
than
go.
before we went.
That's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
16th
they had
is pretty damn good.
one stage that it was
Oh, thank you.
you had a bit of an observation period or 30 seconds of non-communication, and I had a shooting tower to go to, and Jim had a shooting tower to go to. But then if you think about it, when they say go and they start the 30 seconds, by the time you get up to the top of the shooting tower, it gives you just enough time to get your notepad and your binoculars and stuff out, just start scanning. They say time's up, and then we both have to go to the third tower to begin our stage. So it's like, they made you climb up in there for no reason at all. We might as well have just kind of
Stayed
burned
where
your
you were.
stage, or just like kind of went to the back of the platform and started looking around. But we thought, okay, I'm going to get set up and I'm going to find this target, this target, this target. It's like, yeah, that reality might take a couple minutes. You got 30 seconds and you can't shoot from that.
Yeah.
So you got to get to the other one afterwards.
Yeah.
Just paying very detailed attention to the stage briefs, and every piece of information they're giving you is there for a reason.
Yeah, that critical thinking's got to come into play. But I mean, as a first time competitor, you got to just go with the flow and see what ends up, right? I mean, if you're 5 years into it, then you can make those calculated judgments and say, what, that's bullshit.
A little trick. One of the stages, they had all the targets were fairly close, say between 175 and 300 yards, sort of thing, right? All within a small window. And I just kind of glazed over that. And Jim's like, we should know that because your dope is very minimal on those distances. He's like, just dial the middle and we don't even need to worry about what it is, right? You don't even need to laze anything at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, you just saved us like a lot of time. Just find them and shoot them. If they're close, aim a little low. If they're further away, but you see the whole range envelope.
Yeah.
Little things like that, where if we would have started lazing them, figuring out some dope, dialing dope, it's
like a bunch of noobs.
Yeah, just shoot them. Just shoot them. It's a rifle, man.
Just shoot them.
We're not using 22s. You don't have to dial like 8 mils to go 50 yards.
Yeah. That's wild. That's awesome.
There is a lot less dialing. Yeah.
I know. I'm jealous.
That's something that was a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah. Do you have a big takeaway, Chris? What's the biggest thing that you would change? And Jim, I'll ask you the same question. Was there any one thing that stuck out that, if I did this, that'd be like a huge win or a huge advantage? Or
I need to do a better job of listening and really analyzing the stage briefs. A lot of times I'd get it and I'd listen to it and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I know what he means. And I wouldn't even really be paying attention to the question and answer. I'm like, I got it. This is easy. Right. And I'd be starting to run a scenario through my head already instead of actually listening for the, I'm learned a little bit about his brand of chicory. Every match director has their own little style and I'm starting to see his. And, from other people's after action reports, and the way he likes to hide targets and the way he likes to get you in uncomfortable shooting positions.
Right.
So I think just from that, I might carry a tripod and think, never mind the shooting positions he gives you. Just bring a tripod and learn to use it instead.
Yeah. Interesting. Jim, how about you? Did you have a major discovery or idea?
We kind of already touched on it. It was for me. I'd agree with everything Chris said, but for me, it's glass. Don't skimp on glass.
Yeah.
Because if you can't find them and you can't tell, because it's early in the morning, you're gonna be shooting at 7 o'clock in the morning. The sun's
Yeah.
way the heck down, or it's the end of the day, the sun's way down, and they're telling you shoot a white one on a red post, but there's a white one and you can't tell what color the post is, and it's sitting out there at 880 yards.
Yeah.
Like serious glass is a thing, more so than the rifle. And if you're secondary, figure out a 223, make it go fast, find your node, and go to town on it. But you're not shooting 308. Yeah.
Duly noted. So now you guys are motivated to go back for next year.
Yeah, we had it all. Our trip, we planned our trip out well and got it right dialed in. We took our time getting down there. We found there's gun ranges everywhere down in the US too. We found a big shooting complex that there was nobody there. We were able to camp there, have an access to a 1,000-yard range for 2 days by ourselves. Got really tuned up.
Wow, that's
took our time, headed over to, because Fort Eisenhower, the tune-up day there was a piece of paper at 100 yards.
Okay, just sighting, really.
And you could shoot from prone or modified prone. Like they have these shooting bunkers you could stand in, or I think there was a bit of a barricade there. If you want to shoot barricade at 100-yard piece of paper, you could. No pistol tune-up. Okay. So we were wise to find, because it's a different area too. You gotta get all your environmentals tuned up.
Yeah.
In your electronics, or make our armbands. We had lots of time for doing that.
Yeah. Nice. And you guys were able to
got
confirm,
a lot done in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And now that we've been
a little bit different.
Yeah, we had to invest in a lot of equipment for this. Like Jim was a backpacker, like you said before, so he had a lot of it, and that was a big selling feature when he first pitched this. He said, I'm going to need a lot of stuff. Jim says, I already got a lot of stuff. So had to get a new tent, and we had to build up some rifles and all that. So it's like, now that we got all this equipment, we can't not go again.
Yeah, you guys are ready to go. Were there any other Canadians there? Did you see any other Canadians?
No, we were the only Canadian team.
Interesting. That's
the only other one I know was Grant. Grant
was interesting, actually.
What's that, Jim?
The base commander actually, at the end of the day, he's like, "Yeah, we even got some Canadians here." He sort of scoped us out in the crowd.
He was such a nice guy. They were so accommodating down there at the base. Like, they love it. They had like the ABC News doing the 5 o'clock news talking about the Mammoth Sniper Challenge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I was jealous of a few things, like, walking around with a pistol and a holster all the time just because you can. That was awesome. Suppressed rifles. Why can't we use those here? They're so much nicer to be around.
Yeah.
The Americans, they do it right. 18-round Freedom magazines for the pistols. Those are a nice touch.
Yeah. What would you do with all that extra ammo in a magazine?
Oh yeah, 36 rounds in one magazine change.
Jeez,
it was fun for the unlimited pistol. They had one of those moving targets for the pistol stage with unlimited.
Oh, nice! Rounds. Oh, that'd be a blast. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah, you can you can wring a lot of steel when you got that much ready to go.
So folks are interested in.
But yeah, the community involvement down there was just crazy. I mean, he had to have, what do you think, like 70 volunteers?
And yeah, it was very well run. They had a big barbecue at the end.
Everybody was behind it.
Nice.
Yeah, the whole base was into it. It was, and because so much of the community is into it, you're not getting people going, well, somebody was making noise. It's everybody's going, wow, that's really cool. What are you guys doing? And are you guys going to Mammoth? Oh yeah, so it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Do you guys have any Canadian flag branded outfits?
I had a
Guys didn't have a
Canadian
team
flag
jersey?
on my chest, Rig. I had my maple seed patch.
Yeah.
It was even on the ABC News. If you see, there's a close up of my maple seed patch on there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's
There
awesome.
you go.
Yeah, that's good. Flying the flags. It's awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Wow,
I think
I'm
more
sure
Canadians are going to go down next year. There's already been a few
Yeah.
potential teams forming for next year.
Nice.
2 pretty serious teams of competitors that have already wanting to get the inside info.
Get your
Hopefully
rucks
a few
in.
more.
Get your rucks in,
Yeah.
boys and girls.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. There's enough time to get prepared for it.
Yeah, shooting's the easy part.
Yeah, it
Isn't it?
is.
Yeah, the
See it,
shooting
shoot
is physically speaking, it's easy. It's the easy part.
Yeah,
because frankly, there are literally thousands of shooters in America that can shoot, and Canada that can shoot this style of competition very confidently.
Yeah.
There are less people who think it's a good idea to put 65 pounds on your back and run like 30
Yeah.
miles in order to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how much rest time were you getting at the end of every day? Did you have enough time to, or
It
were
was
you
pretty-
were you intentionally sleep deprived? Intentionally.
It was pretty fast paced. Like the first night, I said we got our tent set up. We didn't get to bed until almost 9:30. By the time we got our tent
Okay.
set up and had food, and then 4 o'clock, or we tried to sleep into about 4:15, and that was a bad move. We were way too rushed.
Okay.
The next night, we were probably in bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Like the idea is to get back, get your tent set up, get some food into you, and start recovering.
And crash. Yeah.
Because at each stage, you might be there for an hour, maybe an hour, like typical.
Okay.
They're 5-minute
Yeah.
stages, so a bit longer, maybe
Yeah.
a couple of hours. But whoever finishes the ruck first, you get to choose your shooting order. So we were
Okay.
trying to get, you don't want to be last, but you don't want to be first, right? So we were trying to go
Right.
for about 7 out of 10.
Okay.
And then we get to chill for a while, maybe make a little bit of food or some coffee, shoot
Okay.
our stage, and then properly pack our packs back up before they send us off to the next range.
Okay. So everyone travels as a group to the next stage.
Yeah, your squad will travel together because they have the
Okay.
chase vehicles and everything
Gotcha.
doing that.
It's like the hunter matches.
Yeah. But yeah, you do get some downtime, but it's mentally exhausting because you're always thinking about what your next move's going to be. And some people, anything that you leave behind, if you take you unload your pack to make some food and you forget something, it goes to lost and found. You can't have it back till the end.
Okay.
One of the stages, a team took their tent out to air it out, and they forgot to put it away.
Oh no.
So at the end, the match director, they had a long discussion on the rules say it's abandoned gear.
Yeah.
They thought, well, we'll give it back to them. And that team ended up turning around about half an hour later or so, bringing the tent back and saying, no, we forgot it. We abandoned this gear. And they stayed out the second night without a tent just because that's the spirit of the competition.
Yeah. Good for them.
And I think they were some of the home field Eisenhower guys. There was a guy in the girl team.
Yeah. It was a male-female team from Fort Eisenhower, and opting voluntarily to hand your tent back over and stay out overnight and
single
keep
digits.
doing the competition and finish it. Man, hardcore. They were solid. They were very solid. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It did feel pretty good because there was
He's asking if we're.
What was the question?
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was just going to say it was pretty good when we seen our scores at the end. There was 3 home base Eisenhower teams, and one of them they come in top 10 somewhere, and the other two were in the 20s. So we beat two of the active sniper teams. It was pretty rewarding.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
You definitely get a second wind. Jim's got the story when we go rucking past a couple of young Marines, probably in their 20s, and they were struggling. And here comes Jim, comes huffing along. One of them looks over and says, "I guess we're not traveling with old manpower."
That's it. Did you guys get any patches from there?
Another guy went, "Geez, we just got passed by gray hair."
That's wild. That's awesome. Must feel good.
Yeah. You get all that. I think
Jim, in answer to your question, we got a couple of patches there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Those are pretty nice souvenirs. Wear those proudly, boys. That's awesome. You can have a whole wall full. I guess the one question is, are you guys going to the one in April? Have you guys decided? You're still talking about it, or definitely not?
I can't make it happen.
Not this year.
Got some family commitments. It's going to be a busy year for me. Jessica's going to cheer competition in Disney World pretty soon.
Oh yeah,
and then
Worlds
also in the Worlds competition in Colorado in September. So
nice.
I don't think Arkansas is going to be fitting in.
It's not your turn.
Maybe next year. We'll see.
Maybe next. You got to plan it out. Just roll right into it.
It's a bit further drive though. This one here wasn't as bad. Like we were probably 16 hours getting down there, towing the big trailer. Everything takes a little longer. Going to Arkansas would be over 20, 24 hours probably.
Yeah. Well, driving through Ontario is 22 hours.
Yeah, Jim doesn't mind. Jim was a pleasure to travel with. He did all the driving. We had our home base hooked on the back. It was perfect.
That's awesome. You guys had it all
dialed in. We even managed to survive the windstorm on the trip home.
We had to pull over. The thing was feeling like it was going to tip. What was it? 50 knot winds right from the side. There was warnings on the highway, no empty trailers.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Memories.
We pulled in Erie, Pennsylvania, and pointed the entire rig directly into the wind, and then went to Jimmy John's and got giant sandwiches and filled our bellies for a couple hours and let it blow through.
Just relaxed. Yeah.
We just splurged after being on the diet. That was the first match I've been to. They had a barbecue and beer and everything right afterwards. Then we hit up Five Guys. Then we went out for breakfast the next morning. Then we went to Jimmy John's. They have 16-inch subs there.
Yeah.
You just couldn't get enough food in you.
American-sized portions of food.
That's awesome.
We smashed so much food after that thing. It was ridiculous.
Well earned, well deserved. Yeah. I mean, after 6 months to a year of, deprivation and just single-minded focus on, making sure your body's in the right shape and in the right, metabolic, processes running properly, and all the gear and all the practice. It's good to just treat yourself. It's got like the second reward, not only finishing the competition, but getting to eat whatever the heck you want in whatever quantities you want. It's good.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta go back on the plane. I feel terrible.
It's like that too. So for the folks that are contemplating this, what advice would you give them, if any?
Get a good pair of boots, get a ruck that fits properly, and start walking. Do maybe try and do a ruck a week, 3 to 5 miles. Start off light. Yeah. Try and fit them in. And then we made a spreadsheet, started figuring out our pack out, started weighing equipment so we contemplate. Because we had contingencies when we were looking at the weather and we were seeing all that weather coming. We brought different, we had to add weight. We got these ponchos, they weren't light. I think they were beneficial. Jim might not. I don't know. We always have different, you don't know until you try it.
Yeah.
Was it worth carrying a 2-pound
Well,
poncho?
we put them to good use. We put them to good use, but we had other stuff at our disposal that we could have used as well.
We learned like really weird things. We thought, okay, well, it's going to rain. And, when you touch a tent, when you're sleeping in it, sometimes you get wet. So we had this great idea. We're going to get some garbage bags and we're going to put our sleeping bag feet in the garbage bag. So if they touch the side, it don't matter. Well, there's so much steam come off while we were sleeping. The sleeping bags got wet anyway. So you can't win.
You can't win.
And that's another thing. You got to try and keep your equipment as dry as possible, because if we got soaked through on the second morning, you're not drying out while you're out there.
No, won't dry out for
those bags are now wearing a liberal coating of durable DWR, like durable water repellent spray. I fixed that problem for next year. That one's sorted.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah, as far as what would I say? Yeah, I'd say when you're trying to figure out weight, and how much your pack's going to weigh, worry about how much you weigh first, and then start worrying about the pack. You can. Most people can find 20 or 30 pounds to take off themselves that you don't want to take out of your pack, right? Put your priority on comfortable rest. Make sure you can recuperate. Make sure that you're fueled correctly. Make sure that your cognitive functions are going to work, because you're doing a lot of problem solving. So when you get there and they say go, you can't be just sort of dragging your ass and being low on water and not having the mental ability to solve the problems that they're going to give you. So prioritize rest, prioritize food, prioritize fuel. And if you need to carry a tent that's a little bit heavier and stay dry and warm and sleep well, it's probably worth it.
You don't skimp on the sleep. I think that's very important, to be comfortable at night. Good bedroll, good sleeping bag, and a way to stay dry.
Yeah, good tent. I wonder if it would have been dry if you guys had separate tents, so your moisture wasn't trapped in one tent.
Well, no, we didn't have moisture issues. Just when we had garbage bags over top of
just the garbage bags.
Yeah, that trapped the moisture coming off the sleeping bag. Other than that, the tent was solid.
Nice.
It's got the fly and everything all built in, so you can set it up and take it.
Nice.
Yeah, you can set it up and take it down in the rain and not. It was the right piece of there.
Yeah, so if you're picking a tent, we were using what's called a Hilleberg Anjan 3. And if you look at pictures of Everest, 40 or 50% of the tents that you're seeing in there are Hillebergs. They're not a well-known manufacturer. They are exceptional quality. So this was a 3-person tent that weighed 4 pounds, 2 ounces. Nice. And it's rated for an amazing amount of, it rained hard, like pretty damn hard. And we were dry as a bone in there. Nice. But the big thing about it is that most tents, when you set them up, you lay them out and you put the poles in to the mesh section on the inside, which means that now you've got a bathtub presented to the rain, and it's sitting there. The rain's just filling your tent up, because with a Hilleberg, you're putting the poles, when you lay it out, it's already watertight. So you're putting you're putting the poles through the fly, and so that when it goes up, it's completely dry on the inside.
It stays dry. Nice. Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, other things we did preparing, though, is that I wouldn't have thought of is making a meal plan and trying it beforehand, and then trying to do work on that. Like these freezer dried foods are kind of hit or miss. We found some ones called Peak Refuel. They're not as easy to find in Canada, but they have like a way higher nutritional numbers, and they actually tasted pretty good.
Nice.
But it would have been good to practice that breakfast skillet and learn how to cook it properly. Read the directions on the bag. That's probably the
Yeah.
better idea.
It is important to test drive the food you plan to eat or survive on.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, for a couple of days, it's not critical, but if you're doing like an 11-day, 15-day, or a 30-day through hike, then it becomes
Well, if it
like
doesn't agree with
you guys. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you were able to still drink that breakfast skillet, I guess. You had to. Well, you had to, right? Because you had no other food.
Yeah, yeah. But if if you're sensitive to certain foods, you want to try
True.
that beforehand.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great advice.
We're all about the cheesy chicken and broccoli.
Yeah,
We're just gonna stick with
all
that.
cheesy
That's your
chicken
basic
and
staple.
broccoli next time.
Your
Yeah.
basic staple now. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, gents, we're at an hour and a half of chit chatting.
There you go.
Time flies. I mean, it doesn't even it doesn't scratch the surface how much time and effort you guys put into your Mammoth experience, but it sounds like quite the adventure. Like if you think about it, the weekend was the shortest part of that whole journey, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like every day. I was obsessing about it for a year. They're like pretty much every day at some point I would think about it. Usually dreading, what did I get myself into? I was afraid the whole time that I was going to fail, and that was the biggest fear. Not that patch. That was my goal. Was just to come home with that Mammoth finisher patch.
Yeah.
I thought what's going to happen that we're not going to get that patch, and just motivated to overcome.
Yeah, I was terrified to let Chris down. Terrified.
There you go. Well, it all worked out. Now you guys are Mammoth veterans.
Yeah.
That's
amazing. And then, so I was going to say, on a side note, Jim set up a Facebook page just that we can keep some information on one spot.
Oh yeah.
And if anybody wants to ask questions, like there's a few other people showing interest.
What's the Facebook page?
Rifles and Rucks, or Rucks and Rifles. What is it, Jim?
It's Ruck and Rifles. RUCK
Ruck and Rifle.
Rifles.
Yep. I thought we should have been Mother Ruckers, but he didn't like that.
Well, got to keep it family friendly, just in case.
Here, let me. Well, this is.
Yeah. So right now it's a ghost town in there. It's a ghost town in there at the moment, but we will start filling stuff up, and if people have questions or want to talk or whatever, we'll get back on that. I have never been a big social media guy, so it's a learning curve for me, but I will try and pay attention.
There you go. So Ruck and Rifles. So I did find it, and that's the 6155599566724 or look for Ruck and Rifles. That's you guys, right?
Yeah,
awesome. I'm sure you'll get a couple of folks joining in, and it's awesome for you guys being open to helping others kind of get on the same journey.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Your experience is invaluable in helping everyone else. That's wild.
Yeah, I know it would have been nice to have someone around that's been there before. I contacted with Grant Sparling. He's the only person that I happened to be watching one of the videos and seeing him, and like, wait a minute, I know that guy. He was quite helpful. He's tied up with schooling, couldn't make it this year, but there's not too much information you can really give out because it's changes all the time. He's given the same pieces of advice: practice your pistol. Practice rocking. Make sure you aren't afraid of hills.
Yeah.
Break in your boots. Don't be a bitch.
The basics. The basics. Well, that's the whole thing. Because again, a lot of people, they focus on the things that are the least likely to bite them in the ass, and fitness and diet and being mentally ready are if you look at any of the special operations group, it's mindset. You don't have to be the biggest guy there. You just have to be definitely the toughest guy to get through the end and have a good head on your shoulders to process data, right? It's like you said, Chris, I'm like you, someone's giving me the briefing, I'm picking out the pieces that my brain wants to focus on and say, yeah, I got it. And then when you're standing in front of this wide open field, you can't remember anything that was told to you, or you're misremembering things. So, that's a hard thing to break down. That's why a good partner will help you out. And there's probably things as a person you can do to straighten out that brain a little more, take notes and structure the notes so you can just write down, okay, target wanted. What did he say? It's going to be blue on a green post. I guess those are the things they teach the snipers. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to some more Rimfire Hunter series matches because it's right up the same alley there.
Exact. Yeah. We're looking
spot
for
it,
venues.
find it, engage it.
Yeah.
Range it.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Perfect.
Yeah, I
wonder if those new Vortex 4000
a few guys are running them.
Mounted. Oh yeah,
there was quite a few. Guys
Yeah.
running those, and even the old Wilcox Raptors. Like some guys
Right.
had the OGs out there. More than I expected to see. Like we had all these conversations since we've been back, and comes down to that's not a cheap piece of kit, and how much gain are you really going to get? You can get carried away with, well, I'm going to spend like $3,000 and it's going to get us a couple more points maybe.
Yeah.
And you can get carried away.
Go ahead.
The same way you can get carried away with weight. Like you can say, well, I'm going to change my barrel to carbon fiber. Okay, well, you're going to save like 1.5 pounds at the cost of $800. Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty expensive. You might be able to find savings somewhere else. Or
the other thing is you're gonna save 1.5 pounds and ruin the balance of your rifle.
Yeah.
Right now, all of a sudden, the thing is so light, becomes a problem.
It's not going to sit right. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. All good points. Well, thank goodness you guys paved the way.
Yeah.
But there's no substitute for putting the effort in. That's the one thing, right? You can tell them all you want, but if they're not putting putting the effort in, it's going to be a sobering event for people. So awesome, guys.
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys taking the time out to enlighten us. That's it. The Ruckin' Rifles. Hit them up on Facebook if you have any questions.
Thanks to you guys, Rick. Thanks for putting in all the effort that you put in. I mean, like I said right at the start, you two guys were integral in the very first match I ever shot. So thanks to both of you.
Warrenfield is the worst wins. Worst wins in Canada, Chris. To this day, I've never found another range that's got trickier wins than Warrenfield's.
Yeah. And I guess I got thanks to Jim for getting me into this mess, and
there you go.
Some people that helped me along the way. Go Big Tactical helped me quite a bit. Trigger Tech, best triggers around on all my rifles. Jessica for letting me use her rifle, and my wife for letting me do all this stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
For me, I got to say thanks to Ashley. I got to say thanks to Chris, Ken Thiessen, Elwood Epps. Big deal. Matt Steiner from MDT and MKM. Al Jaworski, another competitor who gave me a bunch of really good information. Dave Ostrowski, another dude who's a Burris ambassador guy, gave me a bunch of great information. And nice. A whole bunch.
We are blessed. It's good. We're blessed with a great community out there. Thanks, guys. And to all of you, we'll see you next week. I believe we are going to get Josh Botha on from MDT and BCPRL to talk about all of his matches that's going on out west. So stay tuned for that for next Wednesday. I'll see you guys on the firing line. Have a good evening.